Have you ever wanted to try RC dirt oval racing, but you had a lot of questions about it and you didn't know exactly what was needed to start? We did, and we did a little bit of investigating, we did a little bit of research, and we found out that it's super simple. All right, so to get things started, you need a two-wheel drive slash, just like this. To participate in the stock category, you can have the stock chassis or the blue LCG chassis. You need stock electronics, so servo, speed control, the 12-turn motor has to be all stock. You can change the pinion gear, and we did. On our first race day down at the track, we put a 22-tooth pinion gear on, and that sped this up considerably over the stock. I think the stock one was 19 tooth, so we did that. And then a really crucial modification that you are allowed to do is you can shorten the length of the shocks. You have to use the stock body and springs, but you can shorten them. The next thing that you do is you get better tires, because the stock tires, they'll work, but they're not great. So there's a segment where I show you the Proline tires and wheels that I'm using. That's very simple. They glue with a tire, like super glue, and your local hobby shop should have a super glue for tires, and you really just simply glue the tires to the plastic wheels. So let's roll into that footage of the shock work, because that's really the most complicated or labor-intensive part of this whole thing getting going. And once you've seen that, you'll see the tires. I'll show you the body that we used from a company called Shark RC bodies. And yeah, with all of that, you'll have a much better idea of what it takes to get out on the track and get started racing dirt oval. So let's cue the work. All right, here we go with assembly. So the parts that we're using are made by Cory, and his company is called RCDC here in Washington State. So if you look him up, he has a kit that is made up for this task, and there are spacers that go into the shocks. Okay, so during this build, I'm looking at the footage and I can see that my work doing the shocks is kind of blocked by my hands. So what I want to do is I want to take a shock apart, and I'll show you the components piece by piece so you can see what went into doing this. Okay, so here we have our shock. So we're going to take the top off. Okay, next we compress the spring. And now I'm hoping we can see there that we've got this collar here. This collar has a notch in it. We pop the collar up the shaft and we pull it out through the notch. See the notch there? There's a notch right in the middle. That notch slides over the rod and onto the rod. Okay, so we remove that. Now our spring will come off. And so now we're left with the shock body and the rod. To expose the spacers we put in there, we're going to use a pair of shock pliers, and the shock pliers hold the shaft so that we can turn the rod end off. We remove the O-ring that's there. Take that O-ring off. And now we can expose the shock piston and the spacer. And so when I push this up and out, so when I push that up and out, you'll find that we have a spacer here on the shock shaft. And there's the spacer there. That spacer rides up and sits under the shock shaft just like that. And so that's how all those shocks were disassembled and rebuilt. It was hard to see in the video. My hands were in the way, so I wanted to do this insert into the video to show you all of the different components and how it all works. So we have our piston, our spacer, our shaft. We have used a green paste grease to seal the bottom seals. So we put the rods back in. Our O-ring, so our O-ring goes on, and then the end of the shock shaft gets turned on. So we take our spring, we slide our spring on, compress our spring, take our collar, put our collar on, like so, and it all just snaps back into place, and there's our shock. Okay, so here we have the body that we got from Shark for the Slash, and this is very different than crawler bodies because there's no wheel well markings or anything on it. It's just a slab of plastic with the car body on top. So I've taken a Sharpie and I've outlined the wheel wells roughly. So what I'll do now is I'll pull this off, take the car out from underneath it, and I'll try and find something that I have that I can actually use that'll give me a proper circle shape. Maybe say another tire, maybe I'll trace around that, and that'll give me the right kind of arch to cut so the arches actually look good. All right, and here we go. We've got it finally trimmed, and it's starting to look like a car. So trimmed out the arches, trimmed off the bottoms, used tape, try and keep all the cuts straight. And so I'll probably go to the shop and just give it a little bit of finessing with the Dremel just to make sure everything is nice, and then masking and then paint. So okay, here we go, guys. There it is, painted and ready for decals. Doesn't look too bad. I was going for company colors, which is teal and blue, and I picked this blue. I thought it had a little bit of purple in it, which would make it a little bit interesting, but it's actually got a lot of purple in it. So unfortunately, I think it's kind of got a Ronald McDonald Grimace kind of thing going on, but that's okay. It's tidy, it's clean, it's tidy, it looks good. We'll get some decals on it, get some numbers on it, and go race this thing. All right, so now we're gonna move on to tires. And so the tires that we're gonna run they're made by Proline, and they're called the Hot Lap. And these are a dirt oval specific tire, and we're gonna run them on a stock set of Traxxas wheels, because as I mentioned, I think in one of my other videos, this truck is being made to fit a national rule set for stock slashes, and because I'm doing that, I need to use as many stock components as possible, as necessary by the rule. And they say you have to use a stock wheel. So I won't use an aftermarket wheel. I'll use these ones. But we can use an aftermarket tire that's on their tire list that's approved, and these Hot Laps are. So doing wheels and tires is super simple. I'll move the camera so you can see from a distance, but really it's just fitting the wheels, and then you run some super glue around the bead, and that's it. And that's how you mount up a set of wheels. So let's get started on that. right, here's our finished chassis with the wheels and tires. Those are the Proline tires on stock Traxxas wheels. We've got our shocks, so we just grab a body, throw the body on there, and we are ready to go racing. It is literally that simple. There's our body, that fitted, the front posts, which are hiding. And there we go. We are ready to go dirt oval racing. That is all it takes. We've got now our stock Slash with our modified shocks, and we've got our dirt oval body. We're ready to go. We are ready to go racing. I'll wrap up this video with some footage from Creekside Speedway, which is where I raced this winter. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, be sure to reach out in the comments. And if you have any things that you want to have clarified, if there's any additional information that you'd like, reach out to us, leave it in the comments. I will be sure to get back to you. This is a great sport. I had a ton of fun racing. Ended up with a couple podiums this season and hundreds of laps. It was a blast, and the Slash is a super easy way to get into it. So thank you again for watching this video. If you'd like to see more how-to videos, you can also make that known in the comments. Peter and I do read all the comments, and we do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you again, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.